Right now, somewhere in Washington, a room full of generals, intelligence chiefs, and one very impatient president is staring at a map of Iran. And the decision being made in that room tonight could trigger the most catastrophic chain of events the Middle East has ever seen. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't speculation. This is confirmed, sourced, and unfolding in real time. Day 80. 80 days since the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury on February 28, 2026, coordinated airstrikes that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. 80 days of war. And tonight, the world is closer to a catastrophic second phase than at any point since it started. Before we go deeper, if you're watching Verified Bulletin for the first time, we do something different here. No noise, no filler, no recycled takes. Just verified news, hard data, and real analysis. Hit subscribe and tap that bell right now so you don't miss what's coming, because this story is moving fast. On Sunday, Trump posted on Truth Social, "For Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving, fast, or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence." Read that again slowly. Not a warning from a press secretary, not a diplomat's statement. The President of the United States personally posted those words. And if you know anything about how this war has played out, you know that when Trump posts something like this, something usually follows. Reports have now emerged that Washington and Israel might be planning to carry out airstrikes on Iranian energy infrastructure. Iranian energy infrastructure, not military bases, power plants, refineries, the lifeblood of a nation of 87 million people. That is not a small thing. The head of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol, has already warned that the current oil and gas crisis triggered by Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is more serious than the ones in 1973, 1979, and 2002 combined. He said the world has never experienced a disruption to energy supply of this magnitude, and now Trump is threatening to make it dramatically worse. So what exactly is in that room? What are the options? Who's pushing what? And what does each choice mean for you, your economy, and the world? Stay with me, because we're going inside. On the American side, you have Trump, a president who has already shown he will pull the trigger. He launched Operation Epic Fury despite warnings from the Joint Chiefs of Staff that an attack could prompt Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. Trump dismissed those warnings, telling his team Iran would capitulate. Iran didn't. So now he's here, 80 days later, doubling down. Standing next to him politically is Senator Lindsey Graham. Graham went on NBC over the weekend and called on the U.S. military to take new action against Iran's energy infrastructure. "I am calling to hurt this regime," he said. "If you do the same old thing, you're going to get the same results. Hurt them more. Maybe they'll make a deal if you hurt them enough." On the Israeli side, Netanyahu held a security cabinet meeting with his top military commanders, a smaller, closed-door version designed specifically for this kind of decision. Whatever was discussed in that room, the public posture from Tel Aviv is one of readiness. Israel wants to move. And then there's Iran. Iran's Ministry of Defense spokesperson Reza Tlaib stated on Sunday that the military is fully prepared to confront any new aggression from the U.S. and Israel. Not a negotiating posture, a statement of intent. And finally, critically, there's China. China's envoy to the Middle East, Jai Jun, told reporters in Beijing that non-military targets, including energy infrastructure, must not be attacked. China's words matter here more than most people realize. We'll get to why in a moment. Now here's the question nobody in mainstream media is asking plainly enough. Why is Day 80 the breaking point? What changed? Two things changed, both of them massive. On March 4th, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz to all foreign shipping. The strait carries 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas supplies. Think about that number. 1 in 5 barrels of oil that moves by sea passes through a waterway Iran now controls, and it has been shut for weeks.
Since the closure, Brent crude oil prices surpassed $100 per barrel on March 8th for the first time in 4 years, reaching $126 per barrel at their peak. The largest ever monthly increase in oil prices occurred in March 2026.
Right now, over 1,500 commercial ships are sitting in or near the strait, frozen, losing money by the hour, waiting for a war to end. And Iran isn't just blocking ships. Iran has closed the strait through a combination of drone and missile attacks, naval mines, and satellite spoofing that makes navigation nearly impossible and insurance costs catastrophically high. Here's what's even more alarming. Iran is now reportedly attempting to charge tolls to ships that want to pass through. That's not desperation. That's a country that believes it has permanent leverage over global energy supplies. Trump cannot accept that. His domestic political situation is bleeding. He admitted just last week that he is not thinking about Americans' financial health, not even a little bit, in making decisions about the war in Iran. That quote sent shockwaves through Washington, because American consumers are absolutely feeling this. Gas prices have surged, food prices are climbing, and the clock, his own clock, is running out. The second thing that changed this weekend, and this one hasn't gotten nearly enough attention, is what happened to the UAE. A drone strike hit the Barakah nuclear energy plant west of Abu Dhabi. The UAE stated that the targeting of a nuclear power plant by Iran or one of its proxies is a dangerous escalation. Think about what was just targeted: a nuclear power plant, not a military base, not a ship, a civilian nuclear facility in a Gulf country that is a key American ally. Saudi Arabia on Monday said it intercepted 3 drones a day after that strike on the Barakah plant. This is Iran signaling something very specific. If the United States escalates, Iran will hit anything and anyone in the region. UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain. No one is off the table. And that strategy, if you can call it that, is what the decision room in Washington is wrestling with tonight. Want to understand what each option actually means? Good, because this is where most outlets stop. We're going further. Option 1. Strike Iran's energy infrastructure now. This is what Lindsey Graham is calling for. This is what the reports suggest is being actively planned, specifically power plants, oil refineries, and energy grid nodes across Iran. What does this achieve? It accelerates Iran's economic collapse. Trump has claimed Iran is losing $500 million a day due to the naval blockade and cannot export oil. Destroying energy infrastructure would compound that pressure immediately. But here's what the room knows that the TV pundits aren't saying. Iran's parliament speaker has already warned that if the U.S. strikes its power plants, Iran will target critical energy infrastructure across the Gulf, including oil facilities throughout the entire region. Iran's Joint Military Command repeated that threat on Sunday. If Iran follows through, you're not looking at $126 per barrel oil. You're looking at a potential collapse of Gulf energy supply that could push prices to levels that haven't been seen in modern history. The IEA's own head already said this crisis surpasses 1973. A second escalation phase could push well beyond that. Option 2. Extend the ceasefire and push diplomacy. This is the China play. And this is why Beijing's voice matters so much right now. Trump's anticipated visit to Beijing could complicate any decision to resume the war. China has called for reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, through which much of the energy products it relies upon pass. Trump arriving in Beijing with a fresh military escalation against Iran would severely weaken his negotiating position with Xi Jinping. China knows this, Iran knows this, and Trump's own team knows this. Extending the ceasefire buys time, but as Senator Graham pointed out, every day the strait stays closed, Iran consolidates its leverage. There's a real argument that waiting is actually the losing strategy for Washington. Option 3. Targeted strikes. Not infrastructure, but IRGC assets. This is the middle path being discussed by military analysts. Strike the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the specific military arm conducting the drone attacks on UAE, the Saudi drone intercepts, and the Hormuz blockade enforcement, without touching civilian energy infrastructure. This would potentially satisfy the hawks without triggering the full Gulf energy catastrophe. But Iran has already made clear, any strike on any Iranian target will be met with a regional response. There is no surgical option that Iran has agreed in advance to absorb quietly, so every option carries catastrophic risk. That's what's in the room tonight. If you found this analysis valuable, and I mean genuinely valuable, the kind that actually explains what's happening instead of just reporting headlines, please like this video right now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps Verified Bulletin reach people who need this information. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. We cover these stories every day at this level. If strikes happen and Iran retaliates broadly against Gulf infrastructure, global oil supply takes a hit that dwarfs anything the modern economy has absorbed. Fertilizer prices could average 15 to 20% higher during the first half of 2026 if the crisis continues, threatening global food supplies well into 2027. Countries in the global south, nations already struggling with food insecurity, could face genuine hunger crises within months. This isn't alarmism, this is what the data says. If diplomacy holds and the strait reopens, markets recover, oil prices stabilize, and both sides get breathing room. But Iran walks away having forced the world's most powerful military into repeated extensions and negotiations. That is its own kind of victory for Tehran, and a signal to every adversary watching from Moscow to Beijing to Pyongyang. If the conflict remains frozen, neither escalation nor resolution, the global economy absorbs what one analyst described as a slow bleed. Ships reroute, insurance costs remain catastrophic, supply chains for everything from electronics to pharmaceuticals remain disrupted, and the pressure builds until something cracks. There's also a dimension to this that almost nobody is covering in enough depth: Iran's economy. Iran exports oil, gas, petrochemicals, plastics, and agricultural products by sea. At a conservative price of $90 per barrel, Iran earned at least $4.97 billion over the past month from oil exports. But the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports, which began April 13th, is now cutting off that lifeline. Trump wrote that Iran is collapsing financially and is starving for cash, losing $500 million a day, with military and police complaining they are not getting paid. Now, whether that's accurate or Trump maximalism is genuinely contested. Analysts believe Iran has the economic and political will to sustain the blockade longer than Washington expects. The question is whether 80 days of pain has changed that calculation inside Tehran. Here's what makes this moment genuinely different from every previous deadline and every previous threat. The UAE has just been hit. A nuclear power plant was targeted. Saudi Arabia is intercepting drones. 1,500 ships are sitting paralyzed. The International Energy Agency says the world has never seen an energy disruption like this. Trump's domestic political support is feeling the pressure. And on day 80, with a fresh phone call between Trump and Netanyahu, the reports emerging say strikes could come within days, not weeks. Every single time Trump has threatened action in this conflict, he has either followed through or backed down at the last moment in exchange for something. He struck Iran on day 1 of Operation Epic Fury when his own generals said don't do it. He threatened power plants and then paused for 5 days when talks showed progress. He extended the ceasefire when Iran partially reopened the strait. Now the strait is not fully open. Drones are hitting nuclear plants in the UAE. The ceasefire is being violated on multiple fronts. And Trump's message on Sunday, "There won't be anything left of them, time is of the essence," carries a different weight than anything he's posted before. The decision room is active. The options are on the table. And somewhere in Washington and Tel Aviv, men with legal authority over some of the most powerful weapons ever built are making a choice tonight that will affect oil prices in Singapore, food prices in Cairo, supply chains in Seoul, and the geopolitical order for decades. This is not a drill. This is day 80. Watch Verified Bulletin closely in the next 48 hours, because if those strikes happen, we will break down exactly what was hit, what Iran does next, and what it means for global markets, energy prices, and the next phase of this war. Subscribe right now so you're the first to know. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Trump pulls the trigger this week, or does another deal get made at the last second? I genuinely want to know what you think. And if someone you know needs to understand what's actually happening in this conflict, share this video with them right now. This is Verified Bulletin. Stay informed, stay sharp.